With Cruella out now, I'm going to share with you 5 Disney villains that deserve their own origin story. So let's get started. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Justin. I love to watch movies and everything on streaming services. If you guys do too, you guys are in the right spot. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming content. Cruella saw the origin story of Cruella de Vil, played by Emma Stone. Cruella de Vil is a classic Disney villain, and it got me thinking, what Disney villains deserve their own Disney story? There's a lot of potential for a movie to really go deep into these Disney villains. Some Disney villains kind of become evil within the movie, and they just don't have the most compelling storylines to have a story worth watching. So before we get into my 5 Disney villains that deserve their own story, what Disney villains would you like to see have their own origin story on Disney Plus? Or in theaters, or even part of a series? Let me know in the comment section down below. In no particular order, coming in at number 5 is Scar. Scar is a really intriguing character from The Lion King. There could have been some moments that Jon Favreau could have explored a little bit about Scar's past, but they decided to go for a shot-for-shot remake, pretty much, of The Lion King. We know that Scar is the bitter brother of King Mufasa. He doesn't get to be the king of Pride Rock, and he's very jealous at that and kills King Mufasa. And so I would like to see a origin story of Scar, maybe about quarter of the movie. Mufasa and Scar, when they were younger, act as brothers, and they enjoy being in each other's presence. But when it becomes time to decide who will become the next king of Pride Rock, there is some debate about that and some thought about who should become the king. Is it Mufasa or Scar? And then eventually it does become Mufasa. And so we kind of see a transition of Scar, being maybe a happy lion and a good brother, and then slowly transition into him being jealous and angry all the time. Be prepared. That would be something I would enjoy watching, because Scar is easily one of the best Disney villains, and there's a lot of potential to show his story and then transition into where he is now in The Lion King. See him from when he's younger all the way up till maybe when Mufasa was chosen as the king, and then how something in him just snapped. Coming at number 4 is Ursula. Like I said, these are no particular order, but there's a lot of potential for Ursula's backstory. Maybe the conflict between her and King Triton. I think that's something worth watching. How she met her 2 eels that are her best friends. I know there's going to be a Little Mermaid movie with Ursula being played by Melissa McCarthy. So maybe there's a chance within that to kind of have a backstory for Ursula. Or maybe if this movie performs very well and people really like it, they could do a backstory for Ursula with Melissa McCarthy, kind of sign her on for some more movies. But there's a lot of potential for a good storyline with Ursula when she was younger, with King Triton, and that conflict there, and when she left and found her eels and she was in the cave. You can kind of go the Maleficent route and the Cruella route, where she's a misunderstood villain, but she's so angry at a lot of things that she has to act like a villain. Make her a compelling character, something worth watching and seeing that progression to where she is now. It's something I would enjoy watching. I like The Little Mermaid. I like Ursula. She's a very sinister villain. There's a really good storyline within The Little Mermaid that I do enjoy watching, but seeing her when she was younger, I think there could be some really intriguing moments within it. It would look good in a live action form, especially with how movies are being filmed now with underwater sequences. I think there'd be a lot of potential for not only a good story, but also to make it look very beautiful. Another character I would like to see is Hook. I've always enjoyed Peter Pan. We've heard of some stories with Hook and the conflict with Peter Pan. We've had the Robin Williams film Hook, but that was focused on Peter Pan pretty much instead of Dustin Hoffman as Hook. That's not Disney though. We also had Pan, which was absolutely horrible, kind of when he was younger too. But with having a younger Hook, you could see a lot in here. when he lost his hand and now he has the hook, his fear of the crocodile, and maybe meeting up with Smee. There's a lot of potential for forming the character groups that we see, and the pirates, and maybe Peter Pan coming to Neverland, and the Lost Boys as well. So not only focus really on Hook, but you can also focus on a lot of Peter Pan and the Lost Boys and the tension amongst the two groups. I kind of like what they did a little bit in Pan with Hook, but maybe kind of expand on that aspect of it to bring an origin story for Hook. Maybe him coming to Neverland as well. And like I said, losing his hand, getting the hook, finding the ship, being afraid of the crocodile. All of that stuff is really interesting and could have a good story for Hook. You could kind of make it like a gritty pirate movie, maybe a little bit darker than you would expect for a Peter Pan movie, but how he became a captain when he was younger. I think there's a lot of potential for an interesting story within it. And with the backdrop of Neverland, you kind of also have that fantasy element mixed in with the gritty story of being a pirate, which would be a lot of fun. Coming at number 2 is Jafar. I really like Aladdin, and I like Jafar as a villain. The Disney remake really butchered Jafar as a character, but it would be so fun to see Jafar go on an adventure kind of film to try to find the magic lamp and kind of have an adventure style of movie, kind of set maybe like a year or two before the Aladdin movie, and he wants the magic lamps. Maybe he has this map and he's going on these different journeys to try to find the magic lamp. Eventually he gets word of where it is, and that leads up to the Aladdin film. I know they have the animated film Return of Jafar and they want to do another Aladdin movie, but I think an origin story with Jafar set not too far before Aladdin, not make him like super young, but I think it would be really intriguing to have it set like maybe a couple years before, trying to find that lamp and learn of it in the beginning of the film, going off all these adventures to try to find it. It's like almost like an Indiana Jones kind of movie. That'd be really fun to see. Before I give you my final Disney villain that deserves its own origin story, some honorable mentions would be Hades, Gaston, the Queen of Hearts, and Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove. One Disney villain that I think deserves their own story is the Shadow Man from Princess and the Frog. He is an evil witch doctor who wants to rule New Orleans with his friends from the other side. We know that he comes from a poor background and resents the rich. Explore that. Discovers the ambition to become a witch doctor and him being evil and the friends from the other side. Princess and the Frog is a great Disney animated film, very vibrant. You can kind of have it set in that same style of New Orleans when he was younger, maybe like a teenager. Coming from that poor background. We know that he resents the most powerful man in the city, Eli Big Daddy LaBeouf. He wanted to defeat his rival using voodoo, so we could kind of see maybe that conflict between the two. We could see Big Daddy, him being rich and taking control of maybe the poor, and that conflict between the two. I think it was something really interesting if you maintained that style of the Princess and the Frog, and the characters and the vibrant costume designs it would look like a really good film. And him discovering voodoo and then becoming the all-powerful witch doctor that he is in Princess and the Frog. Really fun film. It could make it look very vibrant, especially with some of the magic and the voodoo in the film. I think it could look like a very colorful film while maintaining maybe the darker aspect of the Shadow Man, and the conflict between him and Big Daddy is something I would love to see on the big screen. So there you guys have it. Disney villains that I think deserve their own origin story. There's plenty of Disney villains. Some I don't think deserve their own story just because there's nothing really compelling about them or their part in a Disney story. Luckily for Maleficent and Cruella, there were a backstory already set in place in those movies that they could explore and expand on in the Maleficent movie and Cruella as well. these characters that I just mentioned, there's already some backstory set in place with them that they could expand on for a future movie. If Cruella really succeeds and there's a want for future Disney villain stories, these ones I would love to see first. What Disney villains would you like to see have their own origin story in theaters or on Disney Plus? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.